The Weekly Podioplex will begin after this short podcasting promotional.
Greetings, I'm Kevin Lauderdale, and the name of the show is It Has Come to My Attention. Once a month, I spend just a few minutes drawing your attention to genre-related things that may have slipped under your geek radar. Classic movies finally out on DVD or Blu-ray, not-so-well-known books, audio, graphic novels. Not the sort of stuff you'll see on Amazon's front page, but the sort of treasures that are buried several clicks in under the recommendations carousel. About half the time I mention things for proper geek parents put into the hands of proper geek kids. And sometimes I even do a funny voice or two. All of this for free as part of the Chronic Rift Network, available on iTunes and at chronicrift.com.
This is Michael Faulkner, and it's showtime of the January 31st, 2012 edition of the Weekly Podioplex, brought to you by the Chronic Rift. Let me apologize on the outset if my voice is a little froggy. We've had a small invasion of the cold virus here at Criticality's studio, and while the walls are manned, the battle rages on. Also in network news, you may notice some trouble with the subscription feeds through Medio. We're having some trouble with their network. If you're subscribed to individual feeds for the shows, you will not receive any new episodes. For the time being, they're only being posted to the network feed, and we're working with Medio to get this fixed as soon as possible. Now, on with the show. Starting with the box office report, this weekend's rundown kicks off with number 10 and Haywire, down 4 from 6th. In 9th place is Beauty and the Beast 3D, down 4 from 5th. At number 8 is The Descendants, coming back from last week's 16th. This bump is due to another expansion into 2,000 locations and news of its 5 Oscar nominations. Overseas, The Descendants grossed $15.5 million from 33 markets. Debuts included the United Kingdom with $2.77 million, France with $1.7 million, Germany at $1.6 million, and Brazil at $1.1 million. It also performed well in Australia with $2.56 million, and a first-place performance in Spain with $2.2 million. The film has taken $26.9 million total overseas. In 7th place is Contraband, down 4 from 3rd. In 6th place is Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, down 2 from 4th. At 5th place, we see new release Man on a Ledge, jumping into box offices with $8 million. That's lower than Sam Worthington's The Debt, with $9.9 million. Blame for the poor performance lies with bad marketing for a convoluted plot, and let's face it, it was up against Liam Neeson, fighting wolves. At 4th is Red Tails, down 2 from 2nd with an additional $10.4 million to bring the fighter pilot flick to $33.8 million overall. In 3rd place is new release One for the Money, cashing in $11.5 million in opening weekend box office results, which is lower than Katherine Heigl's Killers at $15.8 million and Life as We Know It at $14.5 million. This one was another Groupon-promoted movie, like The Lincoln Lawyer, which pulled $13.2 million. And according to Lionsgate, the initial Groupon email blast reached 20 million people, most of whom were female. Of course, 85% of Groupon's users are women, so that makes some sense. Unofficial figures estimate 34% of One for the Money's audience had heard about the Groupon promotion, and 11% actually bought their tickets that way. Of those, 93% suggested that they would not have attended otherwise. They probably wanted to see Liam Neeson fighting wolves. In 2nd place is last week's winner, Underworld Awakening, gaining $12.4 million to bring the supernatural action film to $45 million overall. Overseas, it added $16 million for a total of $40 million, with debuts in Australia at $2.8 million, Spain at $2 million, and Mexico at $1.9 million. It also had a good week in Russia, with an additional $2.5 million for a total of $10 million. In 1st place this week is Liam Neeson fighting wolves in The Grey, punching in with $19.7 million in opening weekend take. Compared to Neeson's recent action movies, The Grey opened lower than Taken's $24.7 million and Unknown's $21.9 million. The success is being attributed to a combination of star power and an interesting, easily conveyable story. Apparently, if you tell people that the movie is about Liam Neeson fighting wolves, they come in droves. With a quick look at the overseas market, we start with Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. Thanks to a huge opening in China, the 4th movie in the franchise is back in first with an estimated $25 million from 63 markets this weekend. Over half of that came in China with $12.7 million. That's 5 times higher than Mission Impossible 3, and Ghost Protocol has already taken the top spot for China in that franchise. Ghost Protocol is also popular in Italy with $3.1 million, Norway with $1.2 million, and Sweden with $1.1 million. Overall, that puts Ghost Protocol at $369 million overseas, with a total worldwide gross of $571 million. Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Shadows, dropped to second overseas with estimated $17.3 million from 58 markets. It's big in France, with a $6.6 million opening. The movie stands at $287.1 million and is looking toward an opening in Japan for March. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo added another $10.8 million in 60 markets, particularly in Brazil, with $960,000. The remake stands at $86.7 million overseas and will not be opening in India due to the director's decision not to remove the nude scenes for that country's release. And would you believe that Puss in Boots is still kicking? It added another $7.1 million for a total of $358.7 million, becoming the 8th DreamWorks Animations production to pass $500 million worldwide. Closing out the box office report, let's take a look at what was winning in years gone by. 5 years ago, in 2007, The Messengers was number 1 at $14.7 million. 10 years ago, Black Hawk Down held the box office in 2002 with $11.1 million. 1992 was The Hand That Rocks the Cradle at $8.1 million. 30 years ago in 1982, it was still On Golden Pond at $4.9 million. And 40 years ago in 1972, it was The Hot Rock at $3.6 million. The week of February 3rd doesn't have Liam Neeson or wolves. Last time, I promise. But it does have some worthwhile contenders for the top spot in the box office, starting with The Woman in Black, a horror thriller film starring Daniel Radcliffe, Janet McTeer, and Kieran Hines.
During afternoon tea, there's a shift in the air, a bone-trembling chill that tells you she's there. There are those who believe the whole town is cursed, but the house in the marsh is by far the worst. What she wants is unknown, but she always comes back. The specter of darkness. The Woman in Black.
A young lawyer travels to a remote village where he discovers the vengeful ghost of a scorned woman is terrorizing the locals. The Woman in Black is rated PG-13. Next on the list, we have Chronicle, a drama starring Michael B. Jordan, Michael Kelly, and Alex Russell.
You're probably going to want to get this on camera. I don't want to do it. Dude, I don't want to do it.
Okay, are you ready?
Okay,
come on, do it.
Give me a countdown.
I will, I promise. Ah!
Are we rolling? I'm going to get the gum. Pull it right out of his mouth.
Wait, why are we running? I got this one. Sweet. She's just looking at it.
This is my theory, though, is that it's like a muscle.
Watch this. Dude! Holy crap!
That's why I think we're getting stronger, you know?
She thinks it's stolen. No idea.
Yes, it was the black guy this time.
Because we're working it out.
There's nothing stopping us.
Where are you going?
I'm sorry.
That's just some redneck. What the hell is this guy's problem?
Stop! Are you crazy? Why did you do that? What the hell is wrong with
Was it an accident, Andrew? Andrew?
I'm worried about Andrew.
Listen to me. We can't screw around with this. It's too dangerous. Andrew, it's not a game. Andrew! Stop this right now!
It's making that sound.
What is that?
All right, dude, we're going inside.
Steve, wait up. Matt, look at this. Holy.
3 high school friends gain superpowers after making an incredible discovery. Soon, they find their lives spinning out of control, and their bond tested as they embrace their darker sides. Chronicle is rated PG-13. Next, we have The Innkeepers, a horror thriller starring Sarah Paxton, Pat Healy, and Kelly McGillis.
Do you know the story of Madeline O'Malley? She was the woman that died here in the hotel. She hung herself after her fiancé stood her up on their wedding day. And ever since then, people have reported seeing the ghost of Madeline O'Malley roaming the hallways waiting for her lover. Some say she's even looking to take up a new one. This is our last weekend open, so we've got to find some proof that Madeline O'Malley really exists before this place closes down.
I have my microphone so we can make do with EVP investigations.
Yes, I'd like a room for the night.
Since the hotel is practically empty, we might have a good chance of making some real contact.
What was that?
Did you hear that?
Hang on.
You want to communicate with the spirits in this hotel? I can help you do that.
What do they want?
To live. You mustn't go down into the basement.
Under a blanket of blue, just you and I beneath the stars. In the arms of sweet romance, the night under a blanket of blue.
During the final days of the Yankee Peddler Inn, 2 employees determined to reveal the hotel's haunted past begin to experience disturbing events as old guests check in for a stay. The Innkeepers is rated R. Next up is W.E., a romantic drama starring Abby Cornish, James D'Arcy, and Andrea Riseborough.
Some people called it the greatest love story of the 20th century. The king who gave up his throne for the woman he loved.
How do you find living in England, Mrs. Simpson?
I'm always cold.
Maybe you need someone to keep you warm.
Isn't that what husbands are for? Are you trying to seduce me?
Is it working?
I'm sure the rumors aren't true, Your Majesty.
Which rumors?
That he's rather serious about her.
What do you mean, serious? She's a married woman.
I have never known one person so utterly possessed by another as he was by her.
I read that you kept a collection of letters. Would it be possible for me to look at them?
I don't generally show them to anyone.
I think it's important to tell the story from her point of view.
Happy birthday, we.
Who's we?
Wallace and Edward, silly.
So what is your thing with the Duke and the Duchess?
Little girls love fairy tales.
How do you know they lived happily ever after?
His Royal Highness is calling from Paris.
You know you'll give in if you speak to him.
He's my brother.
The last thing you need is your brother dashing around England with that trollop.
Tell him I'm busy.
Your family will never stand for it. The Prime Minister won't stand for it.
Then I'll give up the throne.
And I will be the most despised woman in the world.
He seems to have made his bed, hasn't he?
I have found it impossible to discharge my duties as king without the help and support of the woman I love.
The whole world turned against her, but she never backed down.
Even when I'm walking on
idea how hard it is to live out the greatest romance of the century.
W.E. is a two-tiered romantic drama focusing on the affair between King Edward VIII, an American divorcee Wallace Simpson, and a contemporary romance between a married woman and a Russian security guard. W.E. is rated R. And last on this week's wide-release slate, we have Big Miracle, a romantic drama starring Drew Barrymore, John Krasinski, and John Pingiak.
The avocado. This little guy and pretty much everything else in town has to take 4 separate plane rides to arrive up here in chilly Barrow, Alaska.
Adam, your material up there seems like it's running a little thin.
What the heck? I think Barrow might have one great story left in her.
This is solid ice. It goes for 5 miles from here to the open ocean.
3 gray whales are now trapped in walls of ice 6 inches thick.
You have whales in trouble and you didn't call me?
I didn't call you because there's nothing you can do.
There's always something you can do.
Rachel, I'd like you to meet Fred and Wilma. And this is Bam Bam.
Everything's gonna be okay.
Governor Haskell, we were wondering if you could mobilize a ship that can break through the ice.
You're serious?
With every passing hour, their path to freedom slips further away as more of the ocean turns solid.
All we need is the cooperation from the governor, but the governor has basically turned his back on the whales.
I hate her so much. We will do everything we can to help these poor creatures.
Pretty amazing, huh?
The National Guard will pull the icebreaker where it's desperately needed.
The pull should be a piece of cake.
Nothing's that simple in the Arctic.
This is a monumental task, as all eyes and efforts are focused on saving the whales.
The temperature has dropped through the floor. We can't keep up with the ice.
The town of Barrow has shut down, as school children and shopkeepers alike furiously work to cut a path to the ocean.
Where's Bam Bam? He's not coming up.
Maybe he's hurt.
You can't go down there, it's too dangerous.
The only icebreaker within navigable distance belongs to the Soviets.
I'll be damned if I'm gonna let the Reds in to save the day.
Then those whales are going to die. Even though they're big and powerful. They're so much like us. We're vulnerable. We get scared. And we need help sometimes, too.
In small-town Alaska, a news reporter recruits his ex-girlfriend, a Greenpeace volunteer, on a campaign to save a family of gray whales trapped by a rapidly forming ice in the Arctic Circle. Big Miracle is rated PG-13. Moving right along to the January 31st home entertainment slate, we start things up with Drive, a crime drama starring Ryan Gosling, Carey Mulligan, and Bryan Cranston. A mysterious Hollywood stuntman, mechanic, and getaway driver lands himself in trouble when he helps out his neighbor. Drive is rated R. Next we have The Thing, a science fiction mystery film starring Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Joel Edgerton, and Ulrich Thompson. At an Antarctica research site, the discovery of an alien craft leads to a confrontation between a graduate student, Kate Lloyd, and scientist Dr. Sander Halverson. The Thing is rated R. Next we have In Time, a sci-fi thriller starring Justin Timberlake, Amanda Seyfried, and Cillian Murphy. In a future where people stop aging at 25 but are engineered to live only one more year, having the means to buy your way out of the situation is a shot at immortal youth. Here, Will Salas finds himself accused of murder and on the run with a hostage, a connection that becomes an important part of the way against the system. In Time is rated PG-13. Next is The Big Year, a comedy starring Owen Wilson, Jack Black, and Steve Martin. 3 avid bird watchers compete to spot the rarest birds in North America at a prestigious annual event. The Big Year is rated PG. Next is The Double, a crime drama starring Richard Gere, Topher Grace, and Martin Sheen. A retired CIA operative is paired with a young FBI agent to unravel the mystery of a senator's murder, with all signs pointing to a Soviet assassin. The Double is rated PG-13. Next up, it's The Texas Killing Fields, a crime drama starring Sam Worthington, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, and Chloe Grace Moretz. In the Texas bayous, a local homicide detective teams up with a cop from New York City to investigate a series of unsolved murders. The Texas Killing Fields is rated R. Next is The Mill and the Cross, a historical drama starring Rutger Hauer, Charlotte Rampling, and Michael York. Behind every great painting lies an even greater story. This film focuses on a dozen of the 500 characters depicted in Bruegel's painting The Procession to Calvary, and the theme of religious persecution in 1564. The Mill and the Cross is not rated. Next we have Dream House, a thriller starring Daniel Craig, Rachel Weisz, and Naomi Watts. Soon after moving into their seemingly idyllic new home, a family learns of a brutal crime committed against the former residents of the dwelling. Dream House is rated PG-13. And last on the new release slate, we have Transformers Limited Edition Collector's Trilogy, starring Shia LaBeouf, Josh Duhamel, and Peter Cullen. This limited edition box set includes all 3 of the Transformers movies on DVD and Blu-ray, along with Transformers Dark of the Moon on Blu-ray 3D. It also includes 10 hours of bonus features, exclusive trophy display packaging, and a movie plaque signed by director Michael Bay with images from all 3 films. In Transformers from 2007, an ancient struggle re-erupts on Earth between 2 extraterrestrial clans, the heroic Autobots and the evil Decepticons, with a clue to the ultimate power held by a young teenager. In Transformers Revenge of the Fallen from 2009, Sam Witwicky leaves the Autobots behind for a normal life, but when his mind is filled with cryptic symbols, the Decepticons target him, and he's dragged back into the Transformers War. And finally, in Transformers Dark of the Moon from 2011, the Autobots learn of a Cybertronian spacecraft hidden on the moon, and a race against the Decepticons to reach it and learn its secrets. Transformers, Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, and Transformers Dark of the Moon are rated PG-13.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Its continuing mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no one has gone before.
Moving on to TV, coming to DVD, we start with Star Trek The Next Generation, The Next Level, starring Patrick Stewart, Jonathan Frakes, and Brent Spiner. Welcome to the next generation of Star Trek The Next Generation, like you've never seen or heard it before. For the first time ever, you can experience some of the show's most important and beloved episodes in glorious 1080p high definition with true high definition visual effects and digitally remastered 7.1 sound. Or you can listen to it with the original audio. You'll witness new picture detail and depth you haven't seen before, enjoy spectacular visual effects that have been painstakingly recreated from the original film elements and not converted from videotape. This taste of TNG is a glimpse of what the upcoming complete season Blu-ray releases will be like, and will transport you to the next level. Episodes included are the pilot Encounter at Farpoint, Sins of the Father, in which Worf faces charges of treason and defends his dead father's honor, and my personal favorite, The Inner Light, in which Captain Picard lives a lifetime in an instant on a long-dead planet whose inhabitants want only to be remembered. Next on our list is Diagnosis Murder, the movie collection, starring Dick Van Dyke, Barry Van Dyke, and Victoria Rowell. Dr. Mark Sloan is a doctor at the Community General Hospital and is a consultant for the Los Angeles Police Department. His son, Steve Sloan, is a detective, and together, along with emergency room resident Dr. Jessa Travis and pathologist Dr. Amanda Bentley, they solve some of LA's toughest murders. This set combines the TV movies from the series, including Diagnosis of Murder, The House on Sycamore Street, A Twist of the Knife, A Town Without Pity, and Without Warning. Next on our list is Poldark, the complete collection, starring Robin Ellis, Enghard Rees, and Clive Francis. As seen on Masterpiece Theater in 1975, returning to Cornwall after the American Revolution, Captain Ross Poldark finds his life at home has fallen apart. His estate is in disarray, his former flame Elizabeth is engaged to his cousin, and his family's copper mines have become targets for the Poldark's bitter rivals. Duels, smuggling, and attempted murders unfold as Ross strives to resurrect his fortunes and find true love. This spellbinding saga dramatizes the deep rifts in British society on the brink of industrialization, played against the rocky, ruggedly beautiful Cornish coast.
Hello. My name is Stephen Hawking, physicist, cosmologist, and something of a dreamer. although I cannot move.
And I have to speak through a computer. In my mind, I am free.
The next release travels into the universe with Stephen Hawking. Starring Stephen Hawking, Benedict Cumberbatch, and Melissa Ricci. Stephen Hawking's universe is an epic new kind of cosmology series, a planet Earth of the heavens. Over 8 spellbinding hours, animated Stephen Hawking gives us the ultimate guide to the universe, a ripping yarn based on real science spanning the whole of space and time.
To the creation of our world and everything in it. And beyond, to the far, far future and the end of the universe itself. A journey through all of space and all of time.
Check it out.
Next up, we have Hey Dude, Season 2, starring Christine Taylor, David Brisbane, and Deborah Kallman. From Nickelodeon, Hey Dude centers on the antics of a colorful group working at the Bar None, a dude ranch. It is owned by Mr. Ernst, a sometimes too enthusiastic but well-meaning boss. The staff includes Sweet Melody, the lifeguard, Brad, the rich horse instructor, Danny, a Native American, Ted, the good-looking but always into trouble type, and Mr. Ernst's young son, Buddy. And last on our TV and DVD slate, we have an exclusive to the WB shop. That's PacMan, the complete first season, starring Jodie Carlisle, Barry Gordon, and Marty Ingalls. The game that gobbled up a nation's quarters while its hero gobbled up its annoying ghost monsters spawned sequels, spin-offs, toys, games, and more. Taking note of Pac-Man's avid fan base, famed cartoon studio Hanna-Barbera hit upon the idea of adapting the game for Saturday morning animation, becoming the first video game to make the jump to TV. Kids were immediately enraptured, and a score of other arcade favorites soon followed: Pac-Man, Ms. Pac-Man, and Baby Pac-Man, from the gaming console to the cathode ray tube. In this 2-disc, 13-episode collection, Pac-Man does battle with Inky, Blinky, Pinky, Clyde, and Sue, the ghost monster minions of the dreaded Mesmeron, who lust after Pac-Land's precious power spheres. Aided by his plucky and charming wife and son, Pac-Man saves the Pac president, confronts the vampiric Pacula, discovers the abominable Pac-Man, and more. Pac-Venture awaits, no quarters required. Each episode has been mastered in HD from newly minted interpositives, made directly from their original camera negatives, and the set is made to order exclusive from the Warner Brothers shop. The link to the purchase page will be in the show notes. Next, we move on to Netflix streaming. We'll start off with the new releases for the week of January 29th to February 4th. On January 30th, we have Supernatural Seasons 1 through 6, starring Jared Padalecki and Jensen Ackles. Two brothers search their missing father, the man who trained them to be warriors against the supernatural evil. Also on January 30th is 90210 Seasons 1 and 2, starring Shania Grimes, Tristan Wilds, and Annalyn McCord. A Kansas family relocates to Beverly Hills, where their two children adapt to the infamous social drama of West Beverly Hills High. On January 31st, we have two titles that we covered just a few minutes ago, The Double and The Mill and the Cross. On February 1st, we see Flesh and Blood from 1985, an adventure drama starring Rutger Hauer, Jennifer Jason Leigh, and Tom Burlinson. A band of medieval mercenaries take revenge on a noble lord who decides not to pay them by kidnapping the betrothed of the noble's son. As the plague and warfare cut a swath of destruction through the land, the mercenaries hold in a castle and await their fate. Flesh and Blood is rated R. Next, we have The Man with the One Red Shoe, a comedy thriller from 1985 starring Tom Hanks, Laurie Singer, and Dabney Coleman. A man picked randomly out of the crowd is made the target of CIA surveillance and pursuit. The Man with One Red Shoe is rated PG. Next, we have Daylight, a horror thriller from 2010 starring Alexander Mirhans, Evan Martin, and Michael Gordair. Daylight pits a couple lost in America against a conniving gang of kidnappers in David Barker's rigorous and personal reimagining of the genre film. Daylight is not rated. Next, we get A License to Drive, a comedy from 1988 starring Corey Haim, Corey Feldman, and Carol Kane. A teen decides to go for a night on the town with his friends, despite flunking his driver's test. License to Drive is rated PG-13. Next, we have Spork, a comedy from 2010 starring Savannah Stalin, Sydney Park, and Rachel G. Fox. Spork is a colorful and foul-mouthed feature musical comedy about a frizzy-haired, pink-cheeked outcast named Spork, who is trying to navigate her way through the annals of junior high. When a school dance show provides a chance for Spork to show up a Mean Girls gang, her trailer park neighbor steps up to coach her with some booty-poppin' moves. Featuring a vintage 90s soundtrack including 2 live crew, Spork is a film about standing out and fitting in. Spork is not rated. Next we have Home of the Brave, a war drama from 2006 starring Samuel L. Jackson, 50 Cent, and Jessica Biel. 3 soldiers struggle to readjust to life at home after returning home from a lengthy tour in Iraq. Home of the Brave is rated R. Next up is Quarantine 2, Terminal, a horror film from 2011 starring Mercedes Masson, Josh Cook, and Maddie Liptak. A plane is taken over by a mysterious virus. When the plane lands, it's placed under quarantine. Now a group of survivors must band together to survive the quarantine. Quarantine 2, Terminal is rated R. Next we have Hollywood Sex Wars, a comedy from 2011 starring Mario Diaz, Janae Allschwager, and Dominique Purdy. Max, Aaron, and Glenn have a track record littered with strikeouts and misfit hookups. The boys embark on a mission to up their hot babe batting average and meet Hollywood Casanova Johnny Eyelash, who teaches these boys the game of scoring A-list arm candy. But there's one problem. The girls are organized, cunning, and have an agenda of their own. It's not long before the girls, led by Big Wendy and Little Wendy, pick up on Johnny's tactics and Hollywood becomes one big booby trap. See what they did there? Hollywood Sex Wars is not rated. On about that same vein, we have Blubberella, a comedy by Yule Boll from 2011, starring Lindsay Hollister, Brendan Fletcher, and Michael Paré. Blubberella is an action comedy centered on an overweight woman whose footsteps cause explosions and whose dual swords are used against anyone who makes fun of her. Blubberella is rated R. Next up is The Stupids, a comedy from 1996 starring Tom Arnold, Jessica Lundy, and Bug Hall. An incredibly dull-witted family unknowingly stumbles upon an illegal weapons deal while on the trail of their stolen garbage. The Stupids is rated PG. Next is The Big Kahuna, a dramatic comedy starring Kevin Spacey, Danny DeVito, and Peter Facinelli. 2 veteran salesmen dissect a sales pitch to a particular client through their young protege. The Big Kahuna is rated R. Next we have Top Gear Series 16, starring Jeremy Clarkson, Richard Hammond, and James May. Jeremy, Richard, and James talk about everything car-related, from new cars to how they're fueled. This television show has it all. Next on our list is Terror Trap, a horror thriller film from 2010 starring Michael Madsen, David James Elliott, and Jeff Fakey. While driving at night on a lonely road, the car of a strange couple, Dawn and Nancy, is hit twice by another car in the middle of nowhere. Nancy asks for help, and unpleasant Sheriff Cleveland offers to take them to the nearby Motel Royal Vista and wait until morning. When the couple arrives at a low-budget motel, they realize that they are part of a sick and deadly game and that their lives are threatened. Terror Trap is rated R. Next, we take a look at Psycho, a horror thriller from 1998 starring Vince Vaughn, Anne Heche, and Julianne Moore. In this shot-by-shot remake of the original classic, a young female embezzler arrives at the Bates Motel, which has terrible secrets of its own. Psycho is rated R. Next is Overboard, a comedy from 1987 starring Goldie Hawn, Kurt Russell, and Edward Herrmann. Very rich and very spoiled Joanna Staten hires country carpenter Dean to build a closet on her yacht. When the two don't see eye to eye, Dean is left unpaid while Joanna sets sail. The following day, Joanna is fished out of the sea, having fallen overboard and suffering from amnesia. Dean sees a way to regain the money she owes him. He tells her she's his wife and mother to his 4 kids. Overboard is rated PG. Next, it's Dr. T and the Women, a comedic drama from 2000 starring Richard Gere, Helen Hunt, and Farrah Fawcett. Dr. Sullivan Travis, known as Dr. T, is a wealthy Dallas gynecologist for some of the wealthiest women in Texas. He finds his idealist life beginning to fall apart starting when his wife, Kate, suffers a nervous breakdown and is committed to the state mental hospital. His eldest daughter, Dee Dee, is planning to go through with her approaching wedding despite the secret that she's a lesbian and romantically involved with Marilyn, the maid of honor. His youngest daughter, Connie, is a conspiracy theorist freak with her own agenda to everything, and his loyal secretary, Carolyn, has romantic feelings for him, which are not mutual. Dr. T and the Women is rated R. Next on our list is The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes from 1984, starring Jeremy Brett, David Burke, and Rosalie Williams. This highly detailed series recreated the adventures of Conan Doyle's Victorian detective in painstaking detail, sometimes to the extent of recreating the illustrations which accompanied the original story publication in Strand magazine during the late 19th century. 13 of the Holmes short stories were adapted in this series, which was followed by 2 sequels as well as several TV movie adaptations. Next up, it's American Breakdown, a comedic drama from 2007 starring Stephen R. McQueen, Michael Rispoli, and Louis Gossett Jr. Also known as Stories USA, American Breakdown is a compilation of short films about desperate lives in America, starring many of the world's top actors. American Breakdown is rated R. Next, we have The Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane, a mystery drama from 1976 starring Jodie Foster, Martin Sheen, and Alexis Smith. A lone 13-year-old resorts to murder to protect her haven. The Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane is rated PG. Next on our list is Restitution, a crime thriller from 2011 starring Mina Subari, C. Thomas Howell, and William Sadler. A true crime writer investigating a small-town murder spree uncovers the devastating truth that changes the town forever. Restitution is rated R. And last for February 1st is Hollow Man, a thriller from 2000 starring Kevin Bacon, Elizabeth Shue, and Josh Brolin. Scientists discover how to make people invisible, but their test subject becomes an insane killer who stalks them. Hollow Man is rated R. February 2nd is Groundhog Day, and it has one film coming to stream. That's Waking Madison, a drama from 2010 starring Elizabeth Shue, Imogen Poots, and Sarah Romer. A woman suffering from multiple personality disorder tries to piece back together her life. Waking Madison is rated R. And the last title coming to the stream this week is a series. It's coming on February 4th. It's called Birdie the Mighty Decode, an anime comedy series from 2008 starring Lucy Christian, Mika Solusod, and Seiko Chiba. Also known as Tetsuan Birdie Decode, Birdie Sifon Altera is a Federation agent chasing interplanetary criminals to the planet Earth. While in pursuit of one such criminal, she accidentally kills a high school boy named Tsutomu Senkawa. Fortunately for Tsutomu, there is a way to keep him alive. He ends up being merged into Birdie's body and must remain so until the repair of his body is complete. The boy and the agent continue her investigation and take on a secretive group of evil aliens planning to perform experiments on the unsuspecting inhabitants of Earth. Next, we move on to the titles that are expiring on Netflix for the week of February 1st through February 7th. February 1st is a rather large day. It starts off with Third Rock from the Sun. Then it moves on to The Accused from 1988, Almost an Angel from 1990, two titles from The American Experience, the Civilian Conservation Corps, and The Crash of 1929. Apocalypse Now and Apocalypse Now Redux are on there, along with Avalanche, Nature Unleashed, Awakenings, Bait, Boynton Beach Club, Camp Rock, Carlito's Way, The Cheetah Girls and The Cheetah Girls 2, The Cosby Show series, The Cove from 2009, The Crying Game, Death Toll, The Dirty Dozen from 1967, Dream Lover, Elvis Has Left the Building, The Escape Artist, The Field, three Frontline titles, close to home, Scenes from a Recession, Obama's War and The Warning, G.I. Joe, Rise of the Cobra, The Golden Child, A Good Man in Africa, The Goods, Live Hard, Sell Hard, Hammett from 1982, Hanging Up from 2000, High School Musical and High School Musical 2, The Hindenburg, Hubble Amazing Rescue from the Nova series, If Looks Could Kill, In the Shadows, Jingle Bells, Ladies in Lavender, Landslide, A Portrait of President Herbert Hoover, Last Man Standing, The Last Word, Lethal Weapon 2, Lies and Illusions, Little Man Tate, Lizard Kings on the Trail of the Monitored Lizards from the Nova series, Mambo Italiano, Married to the Mob, The Men Behaving Badly U.S. series, Miracle on 34th Street from 1994, The Mod Squad from 1999, Moulin Rouge, Moving, The News Radio series, Night Watch from 2005, Nowhere to Run from 1993, Oh Christmas Tree, One from the Heart, Operation Delta Force 3 Clear Target, Parenthood, Pat Gary and Billy the Kid, Peacock, Real Time, The Red Violin, The Road to Guantanamo, Rollerball from 1975, Romeo and Juliet from 1996, The Roseanne series, Short Circuit from 1986, Speed from 1994, Stuart Little 3 Call of the Wild, The Substitute 2 School's Out, Tetro, That 70s Show series, Tom Horn, Tora Tora Tora, Trees Lounge, True Confessions, 12 O'Clock High from 1949, Uninvited Guest, The Village Barbershop, Wah Wah from 2005, The Walker, We Wish You a Merry Christmas, and Witness for the Prosecution. On February 2nd, we lose 2 titles, Gun-Shy from 2000 and New York, I Love You from 2008. On February 3rd, we lose 4 titles, that's Circus from 2010, M. Butterfly from 1993, Outbreak from 1995, and Sweetgrass from 2009. On February 4th is 30 Frames a Second, the WTO in Seattle, Across the Wide Missouri from 1951, Austin Powers in Goldmember, Happy Birthday Harris Malden, and We Are Wizards. February 5th sees the end of the Battle of Los Angeles from 2011, Bonanza Under Attack, and Strange Brew from 1983. February 6th sees the end for Back from Hell, a tribute to Sam Kinison and the Men Who Stare at Goats. And February 7th sees the loss of Superman Shazam, the return of Black Adam. As you know, unlike DVDs, Netflix streaming titles are licensed for a period of time, and those titles come and go depending on the contract length. And if Netflix is able to renew those contracts, those titles will return. We wrap up our home entertainment slate with Blu-rays from the past. We kick this off with To Kill a Mockingbird, the 50th Anniversary Edition, a crime mystery from 1962 starring Gregory Peck, John Megna, and Frank Overton. Atticus Finch, a lawyer in the Depression-era South, defends a black man against an undeserved rape charge and his kids against prejudice. To Kill a Mockingbird is approved by the Motion Picture Association of America in 1962 and is available on a combination Blu-ray, DVD, and digital copy package. Next up, we have Shakespeare in Love, a comedic drama from 1998 starring Gwyneth Paltrow, Joseph Fiennes, and Jeffrey Rush. A young Shakespeare, out of ideas and short on cash, meets his ideal woman and is inspired to write one of his most famous plays. Shakespeare in Love is rated R. Next, we go to Cold Mountain, a war drama from 2003 starring Jude Law, Nicole Kidman, and Renee Zellweger. In the waning days of the American Civil War, a wounded soldier embarks on a perilous journey back home to Cold Mountain, North Carolina, to reunite with his sweetheart. Cold Mountain is rated R. Next, we take care of The English Patient, a war drama from 1996 starring Ralph Fiennes, Juliette Binoche, and Willem Dafoe. At the close of World War II, a young nurse tends to a badly burned plane crash victim. His past is shown in flashbacks, revealing an involvement with a fateful love affair. The English Patient is rated R. Next on our list is The Piano, a romantic drama from 1993 starring Holly Hunter, Harvey Keitel, and Sam Neill. A mute woman, along with her young daughter and her prized piano, are sent to 1850s New Zealand for the arranged marriage to a wealthy landowner, and she's soon lusted after by a local worker on the plantation. The Piano was rated R. Next is Frida, a biographical drama from 2002 starring Salma Hayek, Alfred Molina, and Jeffrey Rush. Frida is a biography of artist Frida Kahlo, who channeled the pain of a crippling injury and her tempestuous marriage into her work. Frida is rated R. Next, we have Adaptation, a comedic drama from 2002 starring Nicolas Cage, Meryl Streep, and Chris Cooper. A lovelorn screenwriter turns to his less talented twin brother for help when his efforts to adapt a non-fiction book go nowhere. Adaptation is rated R. And last on our list is Malcolm X, a biographical drama from 1992 starring Denzel Washington, Angela Bassett, and Delroy Lindo. Malcolm X is the biopic of a controversial and influential black nationalist leader, and the film is rated PG-13. And now let's wrap this up with the Quick Flicks. Fox has closed a deal with X-Men First Class director Matthew Vaughn to helm the sequel to the X-Men reboot. The actors involved in the X-Men film are all likely to return under contract, and Bryan Singer will be back as a producer. First Class screenwriter Simon Kinberg will return as well to pen the script, and Vaughn had an idea for him to start with. Quote, "I thought it would be fun to open with the Kennedy assassination, and we revealed that the magic bullet was controlled by Magneto. That would explain the physics of it, and we see that he's pissed off because Kennedy took all the credit for saving the world and the mutants weren't even mentioned." The 18th Annual Screen Actors Guild Awards were presented on Sunday, January 29th, and The Help cleaned house. Here's the rundown of all the winners. Best Cast in a Motion Picture went to The Help. Best Actress in a Motion Picture went to Viola Davis for The Help. Best Actor in a Motion Picture went to Jean Dujardin for The Artist. Best Supporting Actress in a Motion Picture went to Octavia Spencer for The Help. Best Supporting Actor in a Motion Picture went to Christopher Plummer for Beginners. Best Cast in a TV Drama were Boardwalk Empire. Best Actor in a TV Drama for Steve Buscemi in Boardwalk Empire. Best Actress for TV Drama went to Jessica Lange for American Horror Story. Best Actor in a Miniseries or TV Movie went to Paul Giamatti for Too Big to Fail. Best Actress in a Miniseries or TV Movie went to Kate Winslet and Mildred Pierce. Best Cast in a TV Comedy went to Modern Family. Best Actress in a TV Comedy went to Betty White in Hot in Cleveland. Best Actor in a TV Comedy went to Alec Baldwin from 30 Rock. Stunt Ensemble in Film went to Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, and Stunt Ensemble on TV went to Game of Thrones. Meanwhile, the list of nominees is out for the 84th Annual Academy Awards. Instead of running them down here, I'm going to post a link to the list in the show notes. If you want to discuss anything you heard on this week's edition, please take a moment to get in touch. You can surf on over to chronicgriff.com and leave a note on the forums. You can leave a voicemail at 888-866-9010, or you can write to John at chronicgriff.com. You can follow us on Tumblr, tweet us on Twitter, check into the network on GetGlue, watch the classics on Funny or Die, and leave us a review on iTunes. You can also find the Weekly Podioplex and the Chronic Grift on Facebook and Google+. If you decide to pick up any of this week's new releases, why not do it through our Amazon store? You get the newest entertainment at Amazon's low prices and high-quality service, and each purchase you make through the store supports the Chronic Grift. Look for the link in our show notes. The Weekly Podioplex is a Lucky Shot production and is produced by John S. Drew. This is Michael Faulkner. Thanks for listening. I'll see you at the theater.